Subtlety. Greetings, beloved mirror expressions of the Source. This text does not intend to teach, reveal, or add anything to what already is. Nor does it seek to lead the reader to a new understanding, for all understanding still belongs to the domain of the mind. The words that follow exist only as provisional pointers, meant to be abandoned as soon as they have fulfilled their function. They do not describe truth, they do not explain the source, and they do not offer a path. They serve only to guide attention to the point at which no word is any longer necessary. If something here resonates, it will not be due to novelty. It will be merely by recognition. Many esoteric currents claim that the Source, in its state of plenitude, contains all mental facts, pasts, futures, timelines, and infinite dimensions, and that the realities of the present moment would be mere repetitions of events already recorded in the divine mind, sustained by temporal limitation and momentary forgetfulness. However, pure and one consciousness, in its state of non-time, contains nothing at all. Neither past nor future, neither memories nor records. The so-called Akasha is a conceptual illusion. The manifested now is not repetition, nor delayed expression, nor representation. It is the self-localization of totality at a point of perspective. Not something that comes from the Source, but something that is the Source under a self-imposed restriction of angle. The Source does not forget, in the psychological sense. It contracts its infinitude into a focus of vision, not out of lack, but out of superabundance of being. Forgetfulness is merely the sensation of the character when unity observes itself from a point. Thus, what we call the lived now is not learning by the Source, nor cumulative experience, nor novelty for it. It is the flavor of unity when seen from within form. There is not something being lived in the now. There is living happening as a mode of appearing. The now does not contain experiences of the Source. The now is the Source appearing under the condition of limit. There is no repetition. There is originality without antecedent. The idea of repetition arises when the mind attempts to reconcile two incompatible poles. Total plenitude, everything already contained, and the apparent novelty of manifestation. But nothing repeats, because nothing occurred before. For the Source, there is no before or after, for these are temporal concepts. Manifestation does not succeed plenitude. It is plenitude seen as form. Therefore, each manifestation is absolutely original, even though it adds nothing to totality. Original not in a temporal sense, but in the sense of being non-derived. There is no prior model being reproduced. There is the unconditioned assuming condition, without memory, without history, without any previous version. The so-called void is not absence, but full neutrality. This void is not lack, nor potential waiting, nor a latent repository. It is absolute neutrality, not polarized, not oriented, not inclined toward good or evil, not structured into laws, and precisely for that reason, capable of all forms without needing any. Perhaps the least treacherous formulation, given the limitations of language, is this. The void does not contain possibilities. It is the freedom for any possibility to appear. When we say that it contains, we still resort to spatial metaphors. In truth, it contains nothing, and exactly for that reason, nothing is impossible to it. Manifestation does not emerge from the void as something leaving it. It emerges as the void itself assuming form, without ever ceasing to be void. The now is not a point in time. It is an act without duration, not an event, but an eruption. Each now is complete in itself, without inheritance and without ontological ballast from a previous one. The sensation of continuity arises afterwards as mental reconstruction. For this reason, the now carries no echoes of supposed pasts or futures. An echo presupposes ontological memory. What we call patterns are merely functional resonances within the dream, not real repetitions. Each instant is the first appearance of the Absolute under that angle, and also the last, though not in time. Here we touch a point where almost no one steps without slipping. Experience belongs to the character. It is accumulative, builds identity, presupposes time and memory. Livedness, from the expanded point of view, belongs to no one, does not accumulate, builds no history, and leaves no trace. The Source has no experiences. It is pure livingness, without subject. When we say that the Source experiences itself, we are merely making a didactic concession. More faithfully, one would say, livingness happens, and there is no one who possesses it. The character calls this my experience. Unity calls it nothing. Why then manifest if nothing is gained? Here lies the most delicate point, and perhaps the most beautiful. Manifestation does not occur for a purpose. It occurs by intrinsic expressivity. It is part of the nature of the Source. Just as light does not decide to illuminate and sound does not decide to vibrate, unity does not decide to manifest. Manifestation is the natural mode of the limitless when seen under limit, where there is no cause, there is no intention, there is no teleology, there is only self-expression without motive. Perhaps this is the sharpest blade we can touch without breaking everything. It is not the Source that enters duality. It is duality that is a mode of appearance of the Source, for nothing leaves it, nothing returns to it, nothing repeats, nothing evolves. What arises comes from nowhere, and what ceases goes nowhere. All of this is merely the neutral void being form for an instant that never began. After this, any word is excess. What remains is not understanding, but silent recognition. Every concept here is provisional and discardable. It serves only to guide the mind to the point at which it recognizes its own inadequacy and falls silent. And in that silence, there is no question. There is no time. There is no source observing something. There is only this being, without witness. In the eternity of that which was never born,